Welcome to Creating Wealth Through Passive Apartment Investing podcast. In this show, we will discuss about best and worst experiences about passive and active apartment investing. And I am your host, Ramakrishna. Let's begin the show. Today's our guest is Trevor Thompson from KTT Properties. Welcome, Trevor.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Sure, thank you. A little bit about Trevor, successful vice president with 47 plus years in the attractions and entertainment industry, now taking these skills into his new passion, commercial real estate investing. Started in real estate investing fall of 2018, passive investor in 14 syndicated deals, multifamily apartments like 1,000 plus doors, one retail strip mall, one townhouse to condo conversion, around 28 units, one single family rental portfolio fund, 250 homes, and one group of ground up multifamily fund, 100 plus doors. So with that, Trevor, you want to add anything to your background?
No, I think I had a very interesting background in the attraction business, very unique career. And the last bit was working with I Fly Indoor Skydiving, opening locations all around the world. It was an amazing journey. I loved it a lot.
Great. And so what is the reason behind moving into commercial real estate?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Like many people started, the original owner of the company at our very first team meeting gave everybody a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And reading that book, I knew that I needed to do something with real estate. But like so many other people, I got too busy just living my life, thinking it would take all of my time, thinking I'd had to deal with the tenants' toilets and trash like everyone else thinks. So I avoided doing anything about it, even though I knew in the back of my mind that I really should start earlier than later.
Got it. And so from previous experience, like what skills are translating into commercial investing side?
Yeah, so I definitely knew I was not interested in the single family. Quite sure that, every time I hired somebody to do a repair at my house, I felt like I got ripped off. And I thought, why would I want to do that for my investment side? And so I always liked running a business. I enjoyed running businesses. And I thought that multifamily was exactly that. You bought a business, you would run it better than somebody else ran it, and you would make profit for yourself and your investors. So that portion of it is what appealed to me.
Great. So how do you find these passive investing opportunities?
So I started looking like everyone else did for somebody to mentor. And I went to several online. I joined a couple. I don't want to mention them, but found them very unsatisfactory. And it took me a while to get out of them and stop the monthly charges. I looked at one company that promised office buildings. You could buy them with a credit card with almost no money down. There's a lot of shysters out there. And then I found a group that it was at least local to Central Texas. And I liked that. Twice a month, I would go to a meeting and actually see them. So I joined that particular mentorship program. Even though they were focused on single family, they did have some multifamily investment.
Got it. So how do you find great operators and sponsors for your deals?
Yeah, so it's definitely been a long journey. At the very beginning, my first few investments were through this mentorship program. And unfortunately, they had a couple of investments that didn't do as well as we had hoped and have struggled. And so in theory, my first few investments, as far as performance on dollar value making, were my least. But I also learned a lot about what to look for in an operator. And so I spent a lot of time looking for the right person first and then the right deal second.
Sure. Okay. So what exactly you look in operator?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to get an operator that has a history of really good communication with their investors. That's the one thing that, I want to earn and learn. And I realize that I'm taking a risk and that some things may not go as planned, may not go as the pro forma, laid everything out. And I would rather invest with an investor that's going to tell me exactly what's happening, why it's happening, and what they're going to do about it. That is super important to me, because I feel that it gives full transparency, and then I refer to it as I'm going to learn while I earn.
Got it. And thank you. And what other factors you would consider before investing in any syndicated deals?
Yeah, so I look a lot at the sponsor, and it's, to be honest, it's a lot to do with their personality, what things that they find are vital, things that are important to them. I went to several seminars, and the last few sponsors that I spoke, I heard about how they turn their properties around, how they focus their energies on making it a better place to live. Simple things like school supplies for some underprivileged kids, after school programs, giving out turkeys at Thanksgiving. And these things really touched me because they meant more to me than anything. And I knew that if you practice those types of values in your business and you bought the right property, everybody would be more successful. So those are things that I really switched my focus to. Who's doing it? What are their values? And, a little bit of their track record and what other people had said about them.
Got it. And thank you. So would you look into like market and sub-market, anything like that?
Yeah, so I definitely, for the beginning, I wanted to keep all of my investments in Texas, and they are currently all except for one investment in Tucson, Arizona. And I did that again based on the strength of the operator, the people that were doing the deal. I had gone to a couple of their training courses, was super, super impressed, and basically made a decision that, I was going to invest in one of their next investments. And, turns out that it was a good idea to do that.
Yeah, got it. So, and what kind of due diligence you would perform before investing in any deal as a passive investor?
So I would talk to other people that had invested with them. And then I would do things like, very interesting, just like you're doing a podcast here, I would listen to their podcast. And then several of them had training platforms. And so I would listen to their training platforms and what they were telling people to do, and that's obviously I look for certain criteria in an investment. I want to make sure that it's focused on investors making money. Many of the deals that I pass on, it looks like the sponsors are, I call it feeing the project to death or taking a bigger percentage. I never invest with those. I invest with people that have a fair percentage. I do like a preferred return. That's always helpful. But I really look for people that are trying to bring value to their project.
Got it. And you invested in multiple asset classes, multifamilies, retail strip malls, townhomes, and townhome conversions. So would you share like a reason behind it?
Yeah, so a little bit was I thought I would try some sort of diversification and learn about it. To be honest, I was always very interested in retail strip centers. So I spent a little bit of time and energy looking at people that were investing in that space. Unfortunately, my timing was pretty poor. So we actually closed on that 2 weeks before the entire plaza, but the liquor store got shut down due to COVID. But they're coming back out. I still think certain strip centers are going to survive. And so it was something that was very interesting to me, as just a way to have something different in my portfolio that, would be able to balance things out, I guess is the way to do it.
Okay, sure. And also you invested in one fund model also. So how that is different compared with, regular syndication deal?
Yeah, so what that was, the real estate group that I did join, their specialty was single family, and that's what they really did well. Then multifamily was, I'm going to call it their hobby. They did some multifamily, and so I always thought, I kept, as I was struggling to find deals or to find a deal for myself, I started thinking, do I really want to relook at the single family business? And this fund came up to where they raised the money so that they wouldn't have to, a lot of times in the single family market, you find a deal and then you run around and try to find hard money to close the deal. And this was the opposite of it, right? They raised all the money up front. So they had the money. So all they had to do was find the deal. And they had a lot of infrastructure because it was supported by all the members of the group. So some members in the group are wholesalers, flippers, rehabbers, property managers, so the infrastructure was there to support the group that I was already part of. And I knew that single families do well if you can buy right and convert them. It's a very profitable space, but you could very difficult for an individual person to get what I'm going to refer to as the critical mass. And this particular one, gave me that. So it's not quite the same, obviously, as a multifamily and the critical mass, everything's in one place. But to get 250 homes in a 200-mile radius, it's close to that.
Okay. Are they in the same market?
They're all Central Texas.
Central Texas. Okay. So how they are performing compared to multifamilies?
Yeah, so they've been slower coming out of the gate because of the hot real estate market. So it's just like it's hard to find a good deal right now in the multifamily space, it's hard to find a good deal in the single family space because the market's really heated up. And you can only spend so much to be able to get the cash flow. But they're starting to definitely get some traction, but it definitely was slower than we'd hoped getting out of the gate. I think once the market cools down just a little bit, they'll start to accelerate again. I do like their discipline though, that they're not going to overpay. They're going to find the right deal. They have a formula and they stick to their formula.
Got it. And thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So, as a passive investor, what kind of benefits you will get by investing in different syndications?
Yeah, so obviously the tax benefits are very good. And I was quite fortunate that in 2020, I got furloughed and I also had one of my investments that was struggling, needed some help. So I was able to volunteer as an asset manager, which reclassified me as a professional real estate investor because I was my full time, I got furloughed, so I didn't have a day job. But it was nice because I was still collecting my severance after I got let go. And I was able to do this. And that was the first time that I was able to really take advantage of the accelerated depreciation. And so that opened my eyes to the sort of the next level of tax efficiency.
Got it. So, any other benefits you would get as a passive investor?
Obviously, you don't have to do any work and hopefully they send you a check. That's really the advantages, right? That, and you get to own a variety of different. So, I own some really deep value add and I own some AAA plus. So, I always joke that on the AAA plus, I think I own a doorknob, big expensive property, and I'm a smaller investor. But it's nice to be able to spread yourself over several asset classes, as well as, just as in my case, things as creative as turning a townhome into condos and selling them. And I always make sure that I connect myself with the general partner and be helpful and, I call it earn and learn. And I'll do anything from small tasks like helping take over for doing some day-to-day to just anything that could bring some sort of value and with a goal to always learn.
Cool, cool. And you invested in multiple deals. So, how do you track your, investment progresses?
Yeah, so I mean, I just keep a file on each project, and then I have a spreadsheet that I make notes on all their quarterly calls. I file all of the presentations, and then I have a spreadsheet that I just use to track how much I'm making on each particular project.
Say if something not going well, so what exactly you will do?
Well, there's not much you can do. That is the biggest problem, right? If you are a passive investor and there's a deal that's in trouble, like I said, I was able to help for about 8 months as the asset manager, but then it took a direction I wasn't happy with. So I'm still an LP in that deal. It's been trying to sell. It's had several delays in its sale. I'll be happy when it does sell. And unfortunately, I'll just be getting my money back. Hopefully, will not be making any money. But again, I made a valuable lesson.
Got it. So, and what kind of questions you would ask operator in that scenarios?
I mean, you ask a lot of questions, and particularly on this investment and a couple of other investments, I do not believe that we're getting the whole story. And that's what's very frustrating and led me to new syndicators that I feel I'm going to get the whole story from. I'm okay if something goes wrong, like I said earlier. We are in a business. Multifamily investing is a business. And in businesses, there's setbacks, things that go well. And I want to be with an operator that's open, transparent, with a plan to fix those deficiencies. And I completely understand that, things take longer or COVID messed things up or whatever it is. I want to understand and learn along with them.
Got it. And would you share any of your best passive investment experience so far?
So I invested in this one, the AAA class property, and I was very, as I mentioned before, communication is super important. And I don't want to keep calling somebody as be this, this annoying LP that's always calling, asking a question. But at the very beginning, you're buying a new one, you really kind of want to get a feel what's going on. And to my surprise, they sent out a weekly communication for the first quarter and then a bi-weekly, and they still send one out if there's over and above. They still just do the quarterly call, but the level of communication, it was just a simple one pager, and you could choose to read or not to read it. And I'm fascinated by the whole process. So of course I'm going to read it and understand it. And then I often reply back with some comments and thanking them or doing whatever. And they take the time to reply back with me. I feel very much like I'm a partner with this group. And that to me is everything. And when I'm doing my first investment deal, that's my goal. I want to be a syndicator that treats the passive investors as my partners.
Cool, that's cool. And would you also share any of your worst or challenging passive investment experience?
Yeah, so I mean, the one investment, I it was my very first one, and I didn't know a lot. I put some money in it, and it was a much deeper value add than was presented, and was a much more struggling property. And I think some of the original capex was spent to fix problems that maybe they should have spent otherwise. And again, it's always easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say shoulda, coulda, woulda. And then the fact that they just didn't communicate. So for example, it was supposed to sell. So I would wait, 24 hours, 48 hours, still no word, send an email. Hey, just checking, did this thing sell? I want to redeploy my capital at some point, and no answer. And I know they were struggling trying to get a good answer to give everybody, but just the consideration of hey, listen, it didn't close. This is what we're working on. We'll give you an update as soon as we have more data. That's huge. That is so important to do for your investors.
Got it. Yeah. What is your current focus? Share something you're excited about now.
Yeah, so right now I'm trying to find my first deal to syndicate as an active partner. And, it's very difficult in sort of our hot market in Central Texas. And I'm trying to stay in Central Texas because I am fascinated with this asset management side of the business. And I want to be that person that's making a difference in the tenants' lives, the impact in the investors' lives, and everybody's lives. So very important for me to have it close to my back door so that I can do that. And then I think once I get better at it, I'll feel more comfortable doing it from a distance.
Got it. And good luck with that.
Thank you.
And any one advice that have an impact on you, Trevor?
Yeah, so any advice is always try to provide value everywhere you go. This is a team sport, and people want to do business with people that are helpful, thoughtful, considerate. So many people were kind to me as I was coming up in my learning journey. So I try to pass that on. I went to a meetup last night, and there were some new people, and their question was, "Do you mind newbie dumb questions?" And the answer was, "I love it. Give me a list of your questions and I'll send you to webcasts, to different things to learn," because people did that for me. And I feel a real sense of obligation to do that for others now.
Got it. And any one personal habit that have major impact in your success?
Mine is I love incremental improvement. And I think that's a trait that plays well in the apartment game. It's not like something where you go in there and tomorrow everything is better. You have to look at your business and say, okay, this week we're going to achieve this. Okay, we did it. Now we can grow on it and achieve that. And, I never tire of what I'm going to refer to as the incremental improvements. And I think that's what makes a good operator, makes a good syndicator. They don't just say, okay, this is good enough, let's move on. They always are trying to squeeze that extra level of efficiency, make it a better place for tenants to be, paying attention to the small things. I just think that that's a skill set I have, and that's something I've looked for in all my passive investment deals, and learned from other operators that are very good at it.
Cool. That's cool. And any one book that have impact on your life and what way?
Yeah, so definitely. So I have two sort of categories of books. So one is in real estate, and the first one is Passive Investing by James Kamasami. It is the best overview of passive investing. And then if you're going to get to the active, there's the Best Ever Apartment Syndication book by Joe Fearless. That's amazing. And on the personal side, Grant Cardone's 10X. And then after you read 10X, you have to read Be Obsessed or Be Average. Those books are, to drive you personally to get to the next level.
Cool. And how are you giving back to community, Trevor?
So I'm giving back by trying to help those that are starting their journey just like I did, like I mentioned, and then once I get my own apartment complex, I have a real goal to make it a better place to live, better place to work for the team. And I think that ultimately gives better returns to my investors.
Awesome. And good luck.
Thank you.
And how can listeners can connect with you?
The best way is on LinkedIn. So it's Trevor Thompson, Austin, Texas. I'm also very active on Facebook. Unfortunately, at this point, I don't have a website yet. I need to get one. But LinkedIn and or Facebook are the best way to get in touch with me. And I'm very, very, very active on both.
Awesome. And thank you, Trevor. I really enjoyed the conversation and thanks for adding value to the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
If you like the show, please subscribe, share, rate, and review. And if you want to connect with me, please send me a message info@ushacapital.com. Thank you for listening. Creating Wealth Through Passive Apartment Investing Podcast. I hope you learned something from the show. See you in the next episode. Thank you. Any information provided from these shows are educational purpose only. As always, please consult with your own CPA, legal and financial advisor before investing.